Shonen characters are perhaps best known for their unyielding passion and endless supply of motivation. No matter what challenge or obstacle comes their way, they will overcome it using nothing but their bare hands and the power of friendship. If you're anything like me, you've used these characters as motivation in your own life. There's almost nothing more invigorating than seeing Naruto fall behind Sasuke and then work passionately on his new jutsu to try and catch up. Or seeing the extent to which Luffy would push himself just to give himself the chance at saving Ace, or even just watching the dodgeball fight in Hunter x Hunter. These moments give me a pump just watching them, and I can feel my testosterone rising. I know I'm not alone in saying this, but if for whatever reason what I'm saying to you is weird or not very relatable, you're probably cringe, you're not cultured, and you've clearly never fought for your friends before. Don't worry, tough guy, this one's for you too. At the end of the day, we're just trying to help everyone. And helping people it has. There are so many people who have been inspired by anime. For example, anime and fitness have some level of correlation. There's people like Jax Blade, Bioneer, Taron Beckham, Goku Flex, that one MMA boxer, Israel, I forget the name, if I could so humbly say myself, and so many other people worldwide who have been inspired by these cartoons. That was specifically in the fitness realm, and this video will be going over far more than just fitness, but that's just to give you one example. So, how can we use these characters to better understand motivation and ultimately apply it into our own lives to better ourselves? Can we apply it into our own lives? How exactly do these characters stay so motivated all the time? If you don't know the formula for what's driving them, what you see on screen can look fake and theatrical. But this level of determination is possible. It's what drives athletes, entrepreneurs, and even mangaka. These require seemingly superhuman resolve, but I believe this drive can be awoken and trained in each and every one of us. I've made videos in the past in an effort to motivate you, but I never really broke it down as much as I would have liked to. I never really got into the specifics. I think motivation, of course, can be philosophically talked about, but I think it can also psychologically be broken down and scientifically decoded on top of that. That's what I'm going to be doing in this video. Motivation can be broken down into three subsets of skills: drive, goals, and grit. Drive refers to curiosity, passion, and purpose. These are the feelings that drive us automatically. People tend to only think about persistence when talking about drive, but that's not all there is to it. Persistence is what keeps us going once our drive has left us. Think about the simplest drive: curiosity. When we're curious about a subject, the hard work needed to learn more about that subject doesn't really feel like hard work anymore. It's this curiosity that drives characters like Gon and Luffy. Gon is curious about what makes being a hunter so amazing that his father left him. He's curious about what his dad is like. What keeps him so passionately motivated is sheer curiosity. Goals are figuring out exactly what you want to do. We need to use that drive and channel it into direct focus in order to accelerate our development by, actually focusing on something. And finally, grit. This is what people think about when they think of motivation. It's persistence, determination, and fortitude. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, and it's important to understand what initiates that first step. It's also important to understand that you shouldn't rely on a single source of fuel to sustain yourself. You need both physical and psychological fuel. These can be divided into two categories: intrinsic drivers and extrinsic drivers. Extrinsic drivers are your physical fuel. That's sleep, exercise, hydration, and nutrition. Intrinsic drivers are the psychological fuel. That's things like curiosity, fear, and purpose. For a lot of human history, we believe that extrinsic drivers were more powerful, but contemporary psychology has given us a more nuanced answer. Once extrinsic drivers start to fade, intrinsic drivers take over. Once people make more than $75,000 a year, money doesn't drive them to improve their performance. What drives them after is intrinsic rewards. Rewards like being in control of their time, working on projects they're interested in, and doing projects that matter. We have civilized society or whatever, but our brain still has monkey elements. Needing these higher purposes is basically our evolutionary way of saying, alright, you've gotten all the food you need, time to help the rest of the tribe. Not all of us are naturally curious about things like finding the One Piece, so I'll go over more concrete ways to become curious as opposed to these nebulous supernatural things. The first thing you can do to prime yourself to become more curious is to write down things that you're interested in. Write down 25 things you're curious about, 25 things you would want to learn more about. The more specific, the better. Instead of saying cameras, say something like, what are the differences between mirrorless and mirrored cameras? Instead of calisthenics, say, how can I learn to handstand? Try to find intersection when possible. So for this one, it would be like, how can I use mirrorless cameras to make myself look better when I take pictures of myself doing handstands? Not a super practical example, but you get the idea. For me personally, when I did this, I've recently gotten into epigenetics and I've always been interested in intelligence, so I would ask, can epigenetic changes make ourselves and our future generations smarter? I genuinely have no idea, but the point is that it gets me curious. I've also been playing Portal on Steam recently, so I think that in unison with my aforementioned interest in intelligence, I could then hypothesize, could playing Portal make me smarter? These mixtures of interests is what led to the development of countless videos on my channel. I'm interested in philosophy, self-improvement, anime, exercise, and video games, and I try and intersect them when I can. This video being one example of that. This is what has led to the development of a lot of innovations. It doesn't need to be this extreme, but I'm just using these as examples. When you find intersection, you create the necessary conditions for pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is what the brain relies on to survive. It's the fundamental job of neurons. As a result, the brain will reward you with a tiny squirt of dopamine. The more you can do this, the more dopamine you will get, and now your brain's starting to cook. Now, once you've identified these intersections, try and learn everything you can about where they may intersect. If you're interested in robotics and military strategy, look up the advantages and disadvantages of robotic warfare. Devote 20 minutes a day to reading articles, books, magazines, listening to podcasts, or whatever. Feed this curiosity on a daily basis. I would also recommend going public with this curiosity. This creates a positive feedback loop. It's also, of course, fine if you just have an interest and that keeps you curious and motivated enough. This was for people who feel like they may need a jumpstart. The next thing you want to do is set goals for yourself. Aristotle noticed that setting goals was one of the primary motivators of human behavior. It's been shown in experiments that introducing the idea of a goal increases work performance by 11 to 25%. In saying this, it's important to have immediate goals and long-term goals. Curiosity drives you to start working on your idea, but goals are the direction needed to be taken to properly realize that goal. You can see this to some degree in Naruto. At first, Naruto had this outstanding nebulous idea of becoming Hokage, but it was saving Sasuke, a specific goal, that further pushed him. Equally as important, I think, is to keep the goals to yourself. You have to manifest that inner stoic. To be clear, I think it's fine to publicize your super long-term goals, but I'm talking more about the sub-steps required to actually achieve that goal. I think it's fine to share your broad interests, like I said before, but you shouldn't be sharing your specific steps. I don't think that's ideal. Talking about your goals significantly reduces your chance of actually achieving it because the act of telling someone prematurely releases the dopamine you're supposed to get from actually achieving it. Once you've already felt that high, it's difficult to fight back and actually earn it. So, in anime terms, talking about your overarching goals, talking about I'm gonna be king of the pirates, I'm gonna be the greatest hero in the world with a smile on my face, those goals are fine, but detailing the specifics of how you're gonna get there, not so much. So, what are these specific goals? Specific goals are the tiny, daily steps it takes to accomplish your long-term goals. So, for me, becoming a media personality may be my long-term goal, but becoming a YouTuber is one step down, making 50 videos is another step down, making one video is one step down, working on a video 2 hours a day is another step down. Now you're getting there, but it's still not specific enough. The level of specificity I'm talking about is, say, editing 3 minutes of this video from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. And now once you've gotten down to that level of specificity, make a to-do list. I hate to be asking you guys to write down so many things, but look, you're gonna need to train your conscientiousness to some degree in order to succeed. Stephen Kotler detailed proper goal setting as such. Massively transformative purpose. This is the desire to completely change the industry you're in, or perhaps the world. Only few of us will ever do this, but I think there's wisdom in keeping that idea in your head. This would be like Senku wanting to bring back the world of science from the Stone Age. Next is high-hitting goals. This is like raising a good and moral family. And then the lowest is clear goals, which is what I was talking about with the specific goals. These can be accomplished from minute to minute. Those clear goals should occupy the bulk of your thinking. It should keep you consistent. It isn't short bursts of motivation, but years of dedication that will reap results. That dedication begins this very minute. The last section we'll be talking about is grit. This is the persistence we all think of. The ability to continuously push yourself over the edge to achieve your goals. I've talked about this on a broad philosophical level in other videos, but here I'm going to go through the specifics. What keeps a lot of these anime characters motivated is their elevated purpose. Having a higher purpose has been shown to even have better health outcomes. Purpose shifts the focus off ourselves, an internal focus, and onto other people, an external focus. We can tap into this higher level of purpose by maintaining or obtaining religious devotion. Religious people are working for something beyond themselves, something that will never leave nor forsake them. This could also be mimicked by having very intimate relationships with the people around you. The power of friendship is a real thing that can push you. The power of family as well, if not more so. Think of Edward Elric ripping the steel rod out of his body so he can continue to push himself to try and save his brother. Doing something for someone or something beyond yourself creates supernatural resolve because you're working on something beyond yourself. You aren't just doing this for your personal gain, but you're doing it for familial, for communal, for spiritual gain. Luffy's goal is to become Pirate King, a very intrinsic goal, but an extrinsic goal of his is to protect and lead his crew. This is why he laid his life on the line for Robin. Similar with Zoro. He laid his life on the line for Luffy's goal, and that gave him an elevated resolve, despite the fact that it's been shown that he's also willing to lay down his life for his own goal. Alright, that's all external willpower. What about your internal willpower? Well, if you're starting at rock bottom, I would start by making a list of your skills, whatever they may be. The actual skill is of no importance. It's the fact that you've learned them at some point that matters. Be very specific. What you're doing is telling yourself that you can learn. Part of willpower is believing that you're actually capable, as cliche as that sounds. Roy Baumeister found that energy levels and willpower were linked to the time of the day. Your energy eroded as the day went by. If this is the case, don't argue with it. Use it to your advantage. Do your hardest task in the morning. This may be why people like Arnold Schwarzenegger did all of their exercise first thing in the morning. From a practical stance, it's debatable whether this is the best idea, but from a purely self-improvement perspective, it makes a lot of sense. On that note, exercise in general I think is really important. Exercise will teach you to persevere. Train harder than last time, every time. Getting in shape is something that no one can do for you, so when you do it for yourself, even if it's only to some small degree, you'll create a positive feedback loop. It's something that you must do for yourself. This will make you gain a lot of confidence and grit. It tells you to some degree that you are in control of your life. Roy F. Baumeister also studied what happened when people lose their belief in the capacity to choose. What he found was that when people stop thinking they're in control of their lives, they act less responsibly and give in to their instincts more easily. His research shows that people who believe in fate as opposed to free will are more likely to cheat, act aggressively, and be less kind towards others. The belief in free will, or more accurately the belief that you are in control of your life, has been associated with everything from better career performance to greater likelihood of overcoming addiction. Personal agency really does play a crucial role in your life. And finally, to reach your full potential, to push yourself that extra inch, you have to master fear. Mastering fear removes a lot of mental barriers. It tells you that even if you're scared, you can still do it. You're then less likely to procrastinate and more likely to get stuff done. You've trained yourself to do harder things, so then the menial day-to-day tasks become easier. A quick note here, you can't really overcome fear in most cases, you usually just have to master it, which is to say, not let it control you. Don't tell yourself to do things in spite of fear, do things because of fear. If Deku can risk his life running in to save Bakugo, do you really think that he's going to be concerned about training? Do you really think that that's going to be a problem for him? In the real world, most of our fears aren't nearly as unpleasant as we thought. It's our attempt to avoid fear that's so uncomfortable. This goes for the whole video. Make sure you give yourself a break as well, that way you don't burn out. I would recommend 1 day a week for rest. The final section here is gonna be on vices. This isn't so much actively motivating you, but just stopping you from being demotivated. This probably requires an entirely new video, but yeah, whatever your vice is, whether that be alcohol, drugs, or pornography, those are not things you should be struggling with. How you go about fixing that is not within the scope of this video. A very quick explanation of what they do is they build up a ton of dopamine, and it gets you nowhere. After then, you will be less sensitive to the regular dopamine you're supposed to be getting from achieving your goals. What you'll find when you overcome your vices is that you'll be more motivated to achieve your goals, and when you actually do achieve them, they'll be more satisfying. The high you get from indulging in your vices will be supplanted by achieving your goals. You'll also find that everyday pleasures just feel more enjoyable. Thank you all for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share a video with a friend, all that other good stuff. 95% of you aren't subscribed, make sure you go do that. If you did enjoy this video, if you learned something, you probably like the book Art of the Impossible by Stephen Kotler. I mentioned it before. Art of the Impossible, a peak performance primer. He goes into a lot more detail on motivation, and he also gets into like learning, creativity, and flow state, I believe they were. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, you'll like that. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. 95% of you aren't subscribed. Make sure you go do that. Peace out.